今天是2025年10月22日，让我们一起来了解一下《纽约时报》资深驻华记者谈习近平的接班人问题。好的，这是一个非常非常有趣的问题，大家应该也特别关心。And me too, me also。就是这周的话，就是大概有370名的共党高级官员在北京开会，制定中国的下一个5年计划，将讨论家庭支出、老年护理和机器人等问题。然后就是他一个就是资深记者楚百亮谈了谈，就是说探讨一个未列入议程且牵动无数人心的问题，谁将是习近平主席的一个接班人？那毛泽东是执政到72岁逝世，当时他是因病无法胜任。那继任者就是邓小平，推行了国家主席两届任期制。邓小平的继承者江泽民又增设了高层官员强制退休年龄，最初界定为70岁，后来就是降至68岁，但他为自己破了例。那习近平就是在几年前就是将这2个规定都取消了。他今年72岁，就是比特朗普总统79岁和俄罗斯总统普京73岁都年轻了那么一点啊，当然比特朗普还是年轻多了所以说呢，习近平就是他会是那个把下一个5年计划执行到底的人，会是他吗？那个楚百亮给了一个答案，他说是的，会是他。我也认同，因为就是说就是中国就是释放出来的一个信号、雄心和愿景，就是只要身体状况允许，他就会继续留任。那他谈过接班计划吗？没有，就是中国政治的一个禁忌之一，他不会谈论这件事，没有人真正谈论它。就是他们会研究字里行间的意识，但是尚未出现可能接替习近平的一个人选。让接班人到位需要数年的时间，这样他们才能承认，就是获得正确的经验，承担正确的任务。那现在的话，就是还没有看到一个年轻人是在担任这些关键职责，所以可以推断为这个过程还没有开始。甚至说习是还没有在棋盘上布局。那为什么会认为他会如此抗拒选择接班人？一个是无非是政治上的盘算和其他不同，一旦指定继任者，人们的注意力和忠诚度就会开始转移，就是一个可能也有一部分人认为这是一个完全非常自私的一个考量，因为习近平他是深信自己是注定的领导者。然后呢，还有一个就是大家说自私的考量，还有一个方面就是说他无法面对失权，然后以及失权后被清算。之前的那个前几年，那个胡锦涛被加出去的那个视频，那就说明说一个党内的一个竞争啊，或者怎么样的话，就是说你随着你的下台，那你是怎样的一个境况呢？因为胡锦涛也是作为一个前国家总统。前国家主席，那在一个公共场合尚且如此，那一个就是怎么说呢？我们用一句老话说，就是你要是在夜路里走深了，那你自然就怕了，所以就是这么一个道理吧，这是我个人的一个观点哦。那我们继续来看楚百亮的一个解答，说，这与过去领导人的做法有什么不同？就是说，习近平的做法打破了他最近几位前任形成的一个模式。胡锦涛和江泽民都是在执政约10年后卸任，那江泽民的任期是稍长。那习近平是从2012年末执政至今，现在已经接近是2025年的末了，所以是一个13年的执政了。那胡锦涛鼓励这样一个观点，就是说，尽管中国没有民主化，但现代化的一个进程也让中国更倾向于集体领导，更受规则的驱动，更加可预测。他极度关注实现干脆利落的一个权力交接，而他的继任者刚好是习近平。那习近平上台后，因为胡锦涛就是他上台之后，就是那个江泽民 是过了很多年之后，才把一个军委主席的一个权力交给胡锦涛。所以那胡锦涛他在自己卸任的时候，他反而是这种干脆利落的一个权力交接。那习近平上台之后的话，他的立场才逐渐明朗。他认为集体领导制的错误的，他认为说这是助长了党内一个党派斗争、腐败现象，对中央领导人的不敬，损害了一个党的根本利益。那就是说，习近平他回归了毛泽东和邓小平时代的不受约束的中央集权领导模式，形式有所不同，所以说它就会使权力交接变得更为复杂。那这对中国的一个政治有什么影响呢？短期内它没有现任的一个迹象，但5年后、10年后，体制内的人士可能会更多的思考这种安排的一个长期的稳定性，并质疑习近平推迟权力交接是否会埋下动荡的种子。那终有一天，习近平的年龄将迫使官员们正视这个问题，即便他们无力改变现状。那届时，不同的一个接班人阵营之间可能会逐渐权力的角逐。那谈到这个就想起来了，前阵子就是说，大家在那个93的一个军备一个展示会上，就是包括普京啊，还有习近平啊，还有北韩的一个那个总统，就是金正恩三四个人，就是在天安门前的一个散步前的谈话，就谈论到年龄的问题。他们都很乐观的认为说，我们现在就是互相安慰，毕竟普京73岁，那习近平72岁，那他们都互相安慰说，我们还是有极大可能能活到150岁的。我觉得这也是一个就是说，哪怕习近平本人他都不愿意面对年龄这个问题。所以说，最后一个是谈到了老年领导人拒绝让出权力，曾是苏联政治的一个主题，对吗？这可能加速了苏联的解体。习近平是细致研究过苏联的历史，他把苏联的垮台归罪于选错了领导人米哈伊尔·戈尔巴乔夫，结果证明他是一个修正主义的改革者。那中国的一个领导层确实在变老，但他还不是一个完全的一个老人统治，领导层正在培养和提拔出生于70年代的干部，有一些40多岁甚至是30多岁的年轻官员身居省级和市级的要职。那这表明高层意识到需要代际的更替，当然这不适用于习近平的一个本人。那读下来这一篇的话，相信大家对我一样都对这个问题有了一个相对而言比较清晰的一个认识。接着就让我们用英语再来感受一遍吧。China, Sea and the Sword. This week, some 670 top officials in China's Communist Party are meeting in Beijing to hammer out the country's next 5-year plan. They are expected to discuss household spending, old age care, and jobs, among other things. I talked to my colleague Chris Barkley, who has covered China for more than 2 decades, about one subject that won't be discussed but is on many people's minds: who will succeed President Xi Jinping. Mao Zedong ruled until he died at 82, badly incapacitated by illness. One change that his successor Deng Xiaoping put in place was 2-term limit for Chinese presidents. Deng's own successor Jiang Zemin added a mandatory retirement age for top politicians. He started at 70, then lowered it to the 68, but made an exception for himself. Xi has squabbled both. At 72, he younger than President Trump, 79, and Russia President Vladimir Putin, 73. But in the absence of any mechanism requiring Xi to leave office, the question of who might take over from him and when is only becoming more relevant. Chris recently wrote a story about what he called the forbidden question. So Christ, will Xi Jinping be the one to see these next 5 years plans through to completion? I'm pretty confident he will, and when we look at his trajectory and his policies, they speak to ambitions and a vision for China that covers 2035 and beyond. That's a sign that health permitted, he will like to stick around. Has he talked about the succession plan at all? No, it's one of those taboos in Beijing politics. He doesn't talk about it. Nobody really talks about it, but people read between the lines, and we don't see any likely successors to see in the central leadership at the moment. It takes years to put people in place so they can be given the right experience and the right assignments. And given that we don't see younger people taking up those key positions, we can assume the process is not underway yet. Xi hasn't even begun making those earlier moves on the chessboard. Why do you think he's so reluctant to choose a successor? There are reasons that are simply part of the arithmetic of politics everywhere. Once you name a successor, people's attentions and perhaps even their loyalty begin to drift. Some people may think it's entirely cynical, but there is strong current in Xi that believes he is a man of destiny, that he is a leader who has been appointed at a time of opportunity and dangers to ensure that China and the Communist Party survive and thrive. That sense of historical mission matters if you want to understand Xi Jinping. How different is this from the world-class Chinese leader did? In some ways, what Xi is doing has broken the pattern that was beginning to form under his most recent predecessors. Hu Jintao and Jiang Zemin both stepped down after around a decade in power, a bit longer for Jiang. Xi has been in power since late 2012. He encouraged this idea that even if China hadn't democratized, it had modernized to become more collective, more rules-driven, and more predictable. Hu was very much focused on a clean handoff of power to his successor, who happened to be Xi. Xi came into power, and it became clear that he believed this collectivist leadership was a mistake, that it had encouraged factionalism within the party, corruption, disrespect for the central leader, and ultimately for the party itself. So Xi has gone back to the kind of centralized constrained leadership that we saw in different ways under Mao Zedong and Deng Xiaoping. But that makes successions trickier. How do you think that this is affects Chinese politics? At the moment, Xi is so powerful, and there doesn't seem to be any sign of him stepping down anytime soon. But say 5-10 years hence, people inside the system might start thinking more about the long-term stability of this arrangement and wondering whether by pushing off his process, Xi is showing the seeds of potential industry instability. Eventually, Xi's age will force the issue into officials' mind, even if they can't do anything about it. It may be barriers emerge between different potential successors' camp. The refusal of old leaders to cede power was a theme in Soviet politics, right? may have accelerated the end of the Soviet Union. He is very attentive student of Soviet history, and he blames the downfall of the Soviet Union essentially on selecting the wrong leader, Mikhail Gorbachev, who turned out to be a revisionist reformer. But while it's true that the Chinese leadership is getting older, it's far from the complete gerontocracy. The leadership is now cultivating and promoting officials who were born in the 1970s. There are young officials in their 40s, even their 30s, emerging into powerful positions at the province and the city level. So there's the awareness of the need for the generation replenishment, as long as that doesn't apply to Xi Jinping. Thanks for listening, and grant your day.